Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, in the nighttime hours in Seattle at 1150 AM KKNW, and of course live in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Monday. Today is also the International Transgender Day of Visibility. And joining us right now is an advocate for the transgender community, as well as also a very excellent public speaker. Ellie Krug is kind enough to join us. She hosts a show, The Illegal Trans Woman, on our mothership station here, AM 950, on the weekends. And she's kind enough today to join us to talk about the International Day of Transgender Awareness. Hello, Ellie. How are you?
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me on. I'm thrilled to be here. And thanks for having me particularly on this day.
Well, I guess let's get an update, because we had you on, when Trump was getting ready to take office, and it was obviously very clear, and this is the thing I've said, is there's as much as I'm concerned about what Trump is doing, there are people who are directly being targeted, that there are people within this Trump administration that want to create a second-tier class of human being. And anytime we've done that, whether that's the Holocaust or slavery, it's never ended well. It's always horrible. And yet that's what they want to do. And, of course, the transgender community is one that they have targeted. Since that time, and you've seen this, clearly they are as horrible as we anticipated they would be. Talk a little bit about what your experiences have been, the transgender community. How are they responding to this assault on their existence?
Well, Matt, it's even worse than what I had anticipated, beginning with his first executive order, in which he defined male and female as a way as to just completely erase transgender people from the federal government. From any kind of recognition by the federal government. And now we have some states that, of course, are starting to follow that as well. For my community, we have attacks on transgender youth as it relates to them getting gender-affirming care. And if anybody wonders what gender-affirming care is, part of it is about puberty blockers, which prevent transgender girls and young women having the voice that everyone is listening to right now. But they're trying to block gender-affirming care, keep trans girls from participating in sports. There was a national push to have that. And thankfully, the Senate Democrats held firm, and they weren't able to get that passed. But they'll come back. But the bigger thing for my community is just the relentless psychological attacks that, you saw when he drummed out 10 to 15,000 transgender service members in his executive order. He called them, unworthy. He said that they couldn't be trusted, that they were disrespectful, that they weren't team member. These were horrible phrases that he used. And my concern, and the concern of my community right now, is we do not know where it will stop. That's the problem, Matt.
Mm-hmm. No, and I've talked about myself as a veteran, the number of proud veteran transgender soldiers who are out there fighting for America every day and fighting for everyone who's listening to me, Democrat, Republican. They're fighting there on the front lines, and to go after them and basically say you're not welcome in the military anymore, not only is just a stupid, cost-ineffective way to get rid of viable troops who are basically out there defending ourselves, but it also is it's bigotry, plain and simple. But this is everything about Trump. It's bigotry in policy form. They're trying to take us back to the time where the only thing that mattered was white male straight Christians, and they right now, considering the Republican Party has abdicated any responsibility of regulating it, we seem to be going down that path.
No, we are. Thank God we have federal judges like Judge Reyes in the D.C. court who had put at least a temporary restraining order on the federal government, on the Department of Defense, dismissing transgender troops. And, her rationale is, you've given me nothing other than saying that transgender service members essentially are unworthy, but you have no evidence whatsoever in any way that they've been detrimental to unit cohesion. There is nothing. And in fact, we've got almost four solid years under Biden where transgender service members served well. They contributed to unit cohesion. And we're talking about pilots, Matt. We're talking about people with specialized backgrounds, on missiles. They just want to get rid of them. $8 billion worth of value for the service members in our country. So,
when you watch Trump and his crew giddily take a bunch of Venezuelans, many of whom were wrongly accused, ship them specifically to an El Salvadoran prison to where they're going to be tortured and killed, laughing and sending Kristi Noem down to do a photo op in front of these people who are now going to be victims. And when Trump sits out there and says there's a lot of other people that I would like to ship down there, I don't think we should mistake this at all, that this idea, Trump has his own version of gulags, and he would like to send transgender people, the LGBTQIA plus community, anyone he deems an enemy to these places, maybe even Greenland. Maybe that's why he wants Greenland so bad. He wants just to ship them someplace so they can be abused for his own pleasure, and it is really insanely disturbing.
Matt, if you're transgender right now, we are somewhere between Nazi Germany, 1933, and 1939.
Yeah.
If you are trans, the question going through your mind is the one that I said earlier, which is, what's next? How bad will it get? German Jews in 1933 were asking that question. And they were, people were saying, oh, it won't get any worse than this.
Yep.
Their communities within their communities were saying, no, it won't get any worse than this. And you're absolutely right. Because when I heard Trump say that about there are other people we want to deport, I had no doubt he was talking about transgender people.
Yep.
And I am absolutely concerned that we are not too far off from, masked men or women in unmarked cars or vans starting to snatch transgender people off the street. I don't think that is beyond the pale at all. And that, of course, is why with my show and with allies like you and other people, and I've been getting emails and texts all day from folks, that we just have to speak up and raise the alarm bell, okay, to stop this persecution of my community. And I don't know, Matt. I don't know if we're going to be able to stop it. I really don't. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to run away, although I got some really solid advice the other day about checking out Canada. But, again, somewhere between 1933 and 1939 for the transgender community.
Well, and I want to give you talk about Canada here. There's a great account up, Tats and Tolkien I do follow, a transgender individual up in Toronto, and she writes, an excerpt from a statement today acknowledging Trans Day of Visibility from the Government of Canada. Everyone deserves to live an authentic life, free from discrimination and harassment, whatever their gender identity or expression, yet transgender people continue to face this mistreatment and to suffer significant repercussions, especially in their mental health. In fact, a national study found that young transgender people aged 15 and 17 are 7.6 times more likely to attempt suicide than the other youth. Let's offer transgender people our support today and throughout the year so that they can feel free to be themselves in welcoming and respective environments. Let's show our pride in living in an inclusive, diverse country. Let's be empathetic. Let's stand together. That's Canada. I mean, I wish that someone in this country would put out something as informative and as supportive of that, but we're not going to get it. So I when you say people are saying go to Canada, I can understand why, because that's tolerance as opposed to intolerance, and that's all that Donald Trump is intolerance.
You're exactly right. We will not get that from the federal government. Although here in Minnesota, Attorney General Eric Ellickson put out a wonderful statement on Blue Sky. J.B. Pritzker put out a really great statement
Chicago.
In Illinois.
Yeah.
He's turning out to be a wonderfully, incredibly important ally. I hope he runs for president someday. And so but in the end, okay, just as it happened in Nazi Germany, in the end, people just circled the wagons, for lack of that's a horrible metaphor, but people, they stopped being the allies of Jews. They stopped being the allies of LGBTQ plus people. They stopped being the allies of people with disabilities in Nazi Germany, and they only started to look out for themselves. We are getting to that point here in America right now. Again, that's why I'm speaking out. I'm going to go down fighting, Matt. I just want you to know that.
I know, and you're an inspiration to a lot of people and myself. Like I said, the idea of creating a second-tier class of humans is abhorrent to me. And yet that's what the Republicans constantly want to do. And not just transgender and the LGBTQ population. They don't like women. They don't like the black community. They don't like Native Americans. They don't like the Hispanic communities. This is just, it's white, straight, Christian, male world only. That's the deal. I will say as well, you bring up Minnesota. We did hear, the way that Republicans scream against transgender athletes would make you get the impression that every athletic event is being won by a transgender athlete. They're upset because Leah Thomas won tied for fifth, which means 4 athletes finished ahead of her. She tied with another athlete, and yet that was somehow a bridge too far, and they keep out there implying that this is some sort of thing they have to address. Like, I guess, there was a study by the local one of the television stations here in the town. They said they could not find a K through 12 transgender athlete in Minnesota, yet the Republicans here tried to put forward a bill of hate. The Democrats united once again. The DFL shot it down, and at least there's that level of sanity that we still do have people here locally. And I guess this is what we have to look at, is make sure your local governments are out there defending the people.
No, absolutely. Hold on. I got to correct something. I pronounced Keith Ellison's name wrong. It is Attorney General Keith Ellison. I don't know why I got tripped up in my words. No, Matt, I mean, there are 10 NCAA athletes that identify as transgender out of 500,000, whatever. I mean, no, the reason they come after my community, the reason they come after it is because they need some scapegoat. They need some scapegoat to be able to rally the forces, and then they raise money. Matt, it is always about raising money on the backs of transgender people. It always is. We have to protect the kids. Send us a check so that we can do that. Mm-hmm. You go to the Minnesota Family Council website right now. They're touting a book that, about how to protect the children, in schools from transgender people, and they want money. It's just, it's a racket, Matt. But unfortunately, it is a racket with life and death consequences right now for my community.
Wonder when they're going to put out that book about the beware of Republican senators in the state of Minnesota. Watch out, the real threats, the calls coming from inside their own house, that sort of thing. The one thing that's good here is that there are people that are standing up. And as you said, the one thing, and I'm going to say this to everyone who's not trans, but that does support the transgender community, the LGBTQIA plus community as well, the next step is for them to convince you to do what Ellie referred to, which is be quiet and not say anything and not be vocal with your support, because maybe they'll try to punish people like myself, where you need to be re-educated or whatever. The reality is that we have a lot of people in this country right now who are really angry. And look at a Tesla dealership yesterday. People are looking to fight back. If someone wants to help support the transgender community in Chicago, Seattle, Minneapolis, St. Paul, nationwide, Ellie, do you have any suggestions of where people can go to find out more information?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think that, if people are inclined to write a check or to send a donation, please send money to the American Civil Liberties Union, okay, or to Lambda Legal. It's a legal LGBTQ plus legal advocacy organization. Both of those are working actively across the country to protect transgender people. Certainly Outfront Minnesota is a wonderful organization here in the state. We have also Gender Justice, which is based in St. Paul, that litigates on behalf of transgender people. And so they can do that. But most of all, if they have somebody trans in their life, reach out to them today and tell them that person matters, that they're worthy.
All right. And I should mention Keith Ellison, Pritzker over in Illinois. Support the politicians that are for being for all human beings. That is for sure. Once again, Ellie Krug, the show is The Illegal Trans Woman. You can find that show on iTunes, your favorite location. It is the International Transgender Day of Visibility. Ellie, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time today.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Take care.
My absolute pleasure. Ellie Krug joining us. Once again, find The Illegal Trans Woman on your favorite podcast site. Take a break, come back. The Matt McNeil Show.